You've got PiePusher on the left, that's the Wii U version, and you've got Tones on the right on the Switch version. So I think mainly what you're going to see here, and the difference is going to be on the left, PiePusher is going to be stuck kind of with DK and friends, whereas Tones has got Funky Kong here. And I think Tones is doing Funky only. As you can see, first of all, the load time is much faster with Tones there. The load times are reduced heavily on the Switch, which is great. So we're going to see Tones start off. Funky's got the infinite roll, which only normally comes with an extra Kong. But PiePusher's got DK, so he's going to be starting with solo DK here. Really, there's not too much to this game, to be completely honest. Move from the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen as fast as possible. So we'll see Funky there has a double jump, which helps him reach up a little bit higher than DK and crew normally can. Normally, his double jump actually only goes exactly as high as Dixie or Cranky can go vertical-wise. However, there's a small little glitch that was found fairly recently where you can do a grab as you're jumping up, and Funky will actually be able to get a little bit extra height, so that even allows us to skip a couple more platforms faster than the original Kongs here. So Tones had a pretty smooth intro. He did a couple grab jumps there to reach higher ledges, and if you're watching PiePusher on the left, you'll notice that he had to pull some plugs and kind of do things a little bit slower than he'd like. So really, Tones is projected to win this match, mainly because of simply being on the Switch version, which is unfortunately an advantage here for him. But PiePusher's still going in, and he's still playing, which is great. He's still sticking it in the tournament, and it's not like he doesn't have a chance for sure. I mean, he could play very well, and Tones could definitely mess stuff up. So I believe PiePusher has actually been playing since before the Switch version was released. I believe he was a little bit involved in the speedrunning community, although I'm not 100% sure. I'm actually going to bring up, which would give him a little bit of kind of just an edge in experience, where Tones has been playing really just since the Switch version came out this year. So I mean, sheer sloppiness could actually just stop Tones from taking this win. So it's very possible that we see the Wii U version actually take the win here. It's very possible. So would not count that out at all. But you can see easily the load's much faster on the Switch here. Although I mean they're really not that far apart so far. Both are still having a pretty clean World 1, which is really good. So we see some Diddy here, Diddy action. Diddy's best at underwater. He's got a jetpack, and the jetpack's actually faster than any Kong, including Funky underwater. So in 80% with Funky, because World 4 is mostly a water world, which we'll see later, it tends to be, it actually is a bit faster. We're not too sure the exact timing yet. How much faster exactly it is to use DK and friends in World 4 instead of Funky, although Funky's pretty much for sure faster in every other world. Yeah, so both players still having a pretty smooth first couple levels. Nothing too crazy going on here. We'll see PiePusher now switch to okay, so DKS is saying 45 seconds faster, which sounds about right. It sounds like it's roughly within that optimally played. So most runners switch in World 4 just because it does save some time. But I believe Tones is going for Funky only. So we'll see how Funky does in World 4. And it's mainly because the roll swimming is a lot slower than Diddy's jetpack. So PiePusher's going to grab Cranky. Cranky's the classic best Kong in this game. Cranky's able to pogo on spikes and on the ground and on spiked enemies and a whole bunch of stuff and gain an absurd amount of height pretty quickly. So as you can see, this climb here on the left with PiePusher, it's much faster to pogo up those than it is to double jump up. So yeah, Tones had a fairly smooth 1-3. A couple little blips, but looks like PiePusher's having a pretty smooth 1-3. Correct pogo routes getting through. So there are kind of different sort of pogo routes we've come to optimize in the past with the Wii U version mostly, because you can kind of vary your pogo between max pogos and little tiny pogos, and you get certain distance and heights based off that. So by routing out the perfect way to pogo through, we've optimized it very far. The other little advantage that honestly you have as Cranky, which probably won't be very relevant here. Tone's going for a little barrel skip there, not too hard. Just don't go in the barrel and double jump up to the minecart there. The little advantage that you get out of the pogo is that you don't actually lose any speed by landing on the ground. So a little issue with Funky and with Solo DK and with Rambi is actually when you land on the ground and start a new roll, you are losing time. You're losing a few frames. I think with Funky, it's like 1/10 of a second per time you have to land on the ground and re-roll, as opposed to double jumping or bopping on an enemy. And Craigie does not have that disadvantage because the pogo keeps your same speed consistently. So I mean, when it comes to like ILs and doing individual level runs and time attack mode in this game, that stuff comes into play as much as possible. You don't want to roll if you don't have to. Now, unfortunately, it still doesn't stop Funky from pretty much dominating the leaderboards in this game, just because he has most of the mechanics of the other Kongs. He can do a double jump, which gives him the height and distance that Dixie and Diddy both give you, and he's got extra hearts, and he's also able to land on spikes without taking damage, which is kind of a Cranky-esque mechanic. He's using a surfboard. So both players right now are in the auto-scroller, the first auto-scroller of 5. And in these auto-scrollers, there's really no way to kind of speed yourself up. There are a few little ways, but there's definitely a lot of ways to slow yourself down. So the general way we speed up in these levels is jumping up and down slopes actually maintains our max speed. Sometimes when you go up and down a slope, it for some reason slows you down. So by doing little hops on slopes and stuff, we're actually maintaining the max speed that the cart can go for as much of the level as possible. And sometimes that includes taking hits on objects. I think PiePusher, that was a little bit accidental, but it doesn't really matter. You don't actually lose any time for hitting anything, which is really good. So moving on to one boss here. There's some new strats that were discovered recently that are only feasible with Funky. It involves kind of jumping on his head before he comes down on the slope, whereas normally we wouldn't be able to. Ooh, PiePusher, unfortunately. I didn't actually see the death, but that's not great. I think it was at the very end of the level, unfortunately. And auto-scroller deaths are the worst. So what we're looking at here, I don't actually know. You know what? I'm going to pop up the leaderboard quickly. I'll tell you right now what we're looking at in terms of final times here, or in terms of kind of estimates here. I'm pretty sure Tones has a better PB. Yeah, so Tones is looking at around a 135. He's got a 134. And PiePusher, I do not see a time actually for PiePusher. He might have a Wii U time on the Wii U leaderboard here. Tones actually has a Wii U leaderboard time of 3 hours and 16 minutes. So PiePusher's got a 143 on Wii U. I'm just checking what the leaderboard right now says. So Tones may have gotten a better time. So we're looking at somewhere in the range of like a 134, 135 probably estimate for Tones here. Yeah, so Tones is on the Switch. PiePusher's on the Wii U. Tones has a PiePusher has a 143 on Wii U on the leaderboard. So Tones didn't go for the little strat there where you can bop Pompey who's the boss of this game, on the boss of this world, on while he's up top. It involves getting a little bit of extra height off of Fish, double jumping and hovering just above him. So, but still a pretty clean boss for Tones. Tones definitely with the advantage after the death that PiePusher had there in the auto scroller, which is unfortunately a pretty big death there. But you know, again, there's only World 1. Lots can still happen. So. Lots can still happen. Tones moved on to 2-1. This is where the game gets a little bit more challenging for the casual player. There are now lots more pits and lots more places to die. And you kind of have to be a bit more on your toes here. Luckily, Funky makes it a bit easier. They added him to the Switch version sort of to be a little bit easier. They gave him the double jump, they gave him the hover, so... Yes, there's a large difference between the load times. You're saving multiple minutes by being on Switch nowadays, unfortunately. Unfortunately for PiePusher there. Nothing you do about it. It also seems the loads are a bit more consistent on the Switch, whereas with the Wii U, sometimes you would just have awful load times. So PiePusher got that little trick we like to call the early fat ass number 2. Where you're able to... The idea is clear the fish off screen as fast as possible. And as soon as they come on screen, they're able to get bopped, which is at the very top. You can actually kind of get up there and kill them quick. So you want to get up to the top height right when they come on screen. So PiePusher did that pretty well, which is nice. Which is very nice. Yeah, so it's about 7 minutes of difference in time. I believe PiePusher died on a pit. He may have died from health. I can't remember. Did Tones die in 2-1? Or did I not see it? Absolutely. PiePusher is definitely not out of this race. I mean, technically, they're both pretty much in the same level right now. Tomes is just exiting 2-1, PiePusher entering 2-1. So it's not even that much of a difference, considering PiePusher actually died. So that just goes to show you that, you know, it really doesn't make or break it, necessarily. At least for the tournament here. So PiePusher going a little bit safe. Going with Dixie. Going with Dixie's probably the safest bet for this level. You really... The pits are pretty dangerous with Cranky if you don't, if you haven't really nailed down that route. Dixie's nice and safe, and she also allows you to do a big jump in that large gap coming up here. So Tones is on the first Ramby level. And again, with Ramby, when you land, every time you land, you're actually losing a little bit of time. As opposed to continuously rolling, or bopping, or double jumping, or pogoing, for that matter, with Cranky. And you are technically allowed to switch between DK and Friends and Funky whenever you want in Funky mode, which is kind of nice. So every time you have to stop with Ramby, it's actually a quarter second, I believe, was what we figured out. So that's a fair bit here. So PiePusher getting this nice jump here. Dixie's able to flutter and land on the platform, which is good. So you're able to skip most of that. Funky can also skip it. However, PiePusher does not have access to Funky, so he's doing the best he can with what he has, which is great. Pretty good, smooth 2-1 there for PiePusher. And Tones coming up to a little trick that that he actually does not really have full access to with Funky. As you saw, he jumped off that platform, and he got a good amount of speed off that platform. However, when you land, you lose that speed. So what you can do there is kind of bop off an enemy, kind of maintain the speed a little bit. But with Cranky in the Wii U version, we were able to pogo through most of this hill section here that Tones is on right now, and keep all the speed. And it would save a good 5 to 10 seconds over just doing it normally like this. So Tones had a pretty clean 2-2 there. PiePusher entering 2-2. So again, still not that far behind. We'll see how it goes. PiePusher is, although not entering 2-2 with Cranky, so he's not going to be able to do that that boost I was talking about to keep all the momentum. But he's still got Dixie, which is still very safe. I think that's PiePusher's mentality here, is just try to have a clean, consistent run. And that's sort of the best you can do against Funky in the Switch version, I think, right now, which is probably, honestly, the best choice. At his skill level there, and at his kind of automatic disadvantage of not having the faster loads and faster character. So Tones is on 2-3, and this is the first level in the game that's completely based off global cycles, where all the cycles in the level start before you even start the level. So depending on what part of the level you get in at what time, you're actually going to be, things are going to be different in the level. Leaves are going to be different spots, and like horns are going to be blown in different spots, and all that stuff. So, ooh, Tones, is he able to? Okay, he saved it. A little bonk there, but the flutter helps him save it. He almost died, and allowed PiePusher to catch up a bit. So in this category, 80%, you're allowed to do anything you want here. You're allowed to switch back and forth between the Kongs and Funky if you'd like, and but it is Funky mode, which is probably faster. So. But yeah, we're going to see, the way we're seeing this run, like I said earlier, PiePusher's on only original Kong, since he's on the Wii version technically, and Tones is going to be doing Funky only. So we'll see all the different Kongs and all the different benefits you gain from them. Tones made the cycle where you have to kind of listen for it to when the horn goes off, and then you go up that little weird area. Hey, PiePusher. Very clean 2-2 as well. So he's keeping pace pretty much as best as he can, considering his loads are a little bit slower. It's not really going to make much of a difference, I'm going to be honest. I think mistakes are going to play a lot more into it. I mean, so far PiePusher has had the big mistake of that big death in 1-4, so it does make sense that he's fairly significantly behind here. But they're both going to be in this level, probably 2-4 at the same time, probably. We'll see how PiePusher handles the universal cycles here. Is going to be a bit tough without Cranky. Well, it's going to be slightly slower, really, without Cranky. It's going to be easier with Dixie, that's for sure. Ghoul is the original runner who opted for Dixie in every possible instance. Unfortunately, it was a little bit slow most of the time, but not by much, really. So there's still really good routes with Dixie, where you're not really losing too much time over Cranky, honestly. And in general, it's far safer to use Dixie. You're allowed to save yourself a lot easier, in case you make a mistake. Whereas Cranky, if you make a mistake with Cranky, you're basically done. You're falling in a pit, almost guaranteed. So, Tones on the second auto scroller here, which is also a minecart. We'll go into this little like log ride sort of thing, which is very fun. The level's a really cool design. I like this. All right, so let's switch it up here. Since Tones is ahead, we're gonna use the Tones audio here. PiePusher looks like he jumped at the correct point to grab the vine there. Those horns only blow for a certain amount of time, so if you haven't jumped at the right time, you won't make those top vines at all. Alright, I can't actually control the audio. Oh, I can. I should turn it down. That is a good call. I have so much control as a commentator. Yeah, let's blast that down quite a bit. There we go. Okay, that should be better. So Tones had a pretty straightforward auto scroller there. He's moving on into 2-5, which has some disadvantages over Dixie. Funky, mainly because of this vine coming up, where you do have to wait a little bit. Actually, I don't even know if it's slower than it's probably not. Dixie was really smooth in this level, though. So Funky works really well here. As well, similarly, because of the double jump. The sync on the start of the levels, yes. So So hopefully PiePusher is actually able to maintain his pace here, because a significant mistake from Tones really would change the course of this and actually tighten it up a lot, which would be really interesting. So I would like to see, PiePusher keep it up. He's playing well after the 1-4, so shouldn't be much of an issue here. Yeah, there is one point in this level where you go left for like 10 seconds, so it's not long. There aren't many places where this happens outside of bosses. Tones have a little trouble. There we go. He does finish it, which is good. Alright, so we're moving into 2-6. There used to be a cycle here. I hope PiePusher goes for this cycle, where you have to get a cranky barrel at the right time. Unlike most of the levels themselves, the barrels, the rotating barrels for different Kongs, which only obviously happens in original mode, or the mode with the 3 original Kongs, the barrels rotate on a global cycle. So as soon as you start the level, they start rotating. So in 2-6, we would try to get to this middle barrel really fast to make a cranky cycle. Because every time you miss a cycle and meet a Kong, you're waiting 3 seconds for that Kong to reappear in the barrel. So Tones doesn't have to worry about this. We no longer have to worry about this because we don't use the original Kongs in this level anymore. It's all funky. But PiePusher will probably be going for it, which is very cool to make. You just have to be super consistent through the whole level and not slow down at all. So you'll see PiePusher's 2-5 is going to look pretty similar to the Tones. The route's very similar. A little bit of slowdown for PiePusher just to make sure he gets up there, which is reasonable. A little bit of speed boost there. Tones kept some speed from that swinging vine. Lots of swinging vines and things like that give you speed boosts in random spots here in this game. Tones doing the climb pretty well with Funky. A little bit of hiccup, but not too bad. Still manages to do fine there, which is good. So Tones is moving on to the boss now, which I think is probably the most interesting boss in this game. He sets himself up very well to having to speeding him up. So he's got certain cycles, just like every boss in this game. Kind of the idea: 3 different phases, 3 hits per phase. And the way you hit Scowl here is mainly by throwing his baby birds back at him in the eggs. And they set it up so that pretty much the first 3 birds you see, you can hit them if you're fast enough and do it properly. So it's very nice that they sort of let that become a thing. So Tones taking a hit right off the bat. Good start. So he's gonna try to make these 3 birds hit him. The double jump allows you to actually get the proper height. Alright, so that's the first phase. Not too bad. Not too tough for the first phase. Does remind me of the Ghost Bird in DKC 2, I agree. So with this phase, he's going to spawn them from the right side. If you hit him too soon, he stops spawning them. So you actually need to wait here. What we do is wait until he spawns the 3rd bird, then pick up the 2nd bird. And then we go for the hit with the 3rd bird. So that's the fastest way to do that phase. And it's very cool that you have to wait for him to keep spawning. You don't just chuck the birds as soon as you get them, because you do want to spawn all 3 birds. If you don't spawn all 3 birds, he goes through a whole other phase where he doesn't give you anything. So it's pretty bad. And the 3rd phase is the only hit in this boss where you actually don't throw a bird at him. But we're gonna bop on him. He's gonna fall down at one point. Tones fooling around a bit, just kind of floating around. Nothing to do here until the actual birds that you could throw come on screen. So we're only gonna need 2 birds here in this phase. So he's got the 1 hit, he's got the second bird, and what you want to do here is hold on to this bird the whole time, because the second hit of this phase we're gonna bop on his head, hopefully. So you got to dodge these things. It can be a little tricky. Tones has got a good strat where he just sits there. And then the last hit should be clean. All right. Tones finishing World 2 with a 25-35. That's pretty good. 25-36-ish. It's a solid time. He hasn't had any major mistakes, so that's really good. PiePusher finishing up 2-6, almost at the boss now. Again, not really any significant mistakes for PiePusher either. Since 1-4, honestly, which is really good. Both players playing well. Yeah. Clean. I didn't even know you could stand in that corner, honestly, and just dodge. I just jump through everything and fool around and all that. So. So we're on 3-1 here for Tones, and this is the second level, which is all global cycles. So really, this level there's not much to it, except you want to make sure we're making these cycles coming up. So the first important cycle to catch, which I believe Tones made, I don't think he made any mistakes there, is catching these zebras and giraffes here. There's one that should come right on cycle. There it is. So missing that cycle costs 7 seconds to go back and forth again. The next cycle that he's going to try and catch is these snake cycles, which, again, should be pretty easy. As long as you continuously go from left to right, pretty much without stopping, you will make the cycle. Okay, little hiccup there. Should still be fine. Funky's got a good double jump there. Oh! Tones actually did miss the cycle. So that's going to cost him a few seconds. Not too much at all. But something. That may actually be the most significant mistake Tones has actually made so far, from what I've noticed. Everything else has been pretty clean. PiePusher here on phase 3 of Scowl. So everything looks pretty smooth for PiePusher, which is nice. Interesting that he's using Dixie for almost all of this. I believe Dixie here is just safer. And it's probably just a comfort thing. Again, by just playing with your safest choice, you probably can't do too poorly. In, I guess, the hopes that Tones kind of really messes stuff up. And there is definitely lots of opportunity left. We haven't even gotten into World 5s and 6 yet. Okay, PiePusher with the first bird hits. So this is what I do usually, what PiePushers do, is walk around and dodge them all little birdies. You just don't want to lose that egg you're holding. Alright, PiePusher with a clean boss as well, which is nice. One thing to note also in the Switch version, they actually changed boss patterns slightly, where they actually give you the best RNG every time, first time. Which is great. I think they looked into the ILs and kind of saw what people were doing, and so they fixed RNG, which is very nice in the runs. So Tones has a little bit of an advantage actually in that respect as well. Just kind of knowing all the patterns right away, they don't change. Whereas PiePusher's going to have to adapt a little bit to some RNG in a couple bosses, namely the World 3 boss, which I personally have a fond attachment for. And a little bit in the World 5 boss too, so, and World 6 as well. So see how that goes. Tones with a clean 3-2. Not a very difficult level, especially with Funky. PiePusher probably going to be able to catch this cycle up. It's not hard, especially with Dixie here. So that will add, hopefully, a little bit of time to PiePusher. Make up for some load time lost there. Tones on 3-3. There used to be a trick called Do-Si-Do. The trick does not exist anymore with Funky. There's no way to maintain any momentum that those tornadoes give you. So Tones with the problem with this level is if you stop a bit, the tornadoes then turn the other way, and it's actually tough to get your footing back again. And if you land in any of the spikes, it slows you right down to a dead stop. You don't take any hits with Funky on the spikes, which is nice. But if you do land in them, it does stop you completely. So Tones, not as smooth as possible, but he's getting through the level just fine. Honestly, not too bad at all. PiePusher still sticking with Dixie. The safest possible bet. And it looks like PiePusher's actually probably going to make the cycle, which is good. Dixie's flutter's good at that. Oh, maybe. Go for it. Go for it. Didn't go for it. I was hoping he'd go for it. So, although Tones had a little bit of a hiccup or two, he has a pretty smooth 3-3 as well, without too much to worry about. Oh, stuck in the spikes a little bit. That's what happens. It's the only way out is jumping out, and you have no momentum at all. You can't roll. You can't do anything. So you have to improvise that a little bit. Hop your way out. Yep. So PiePusher onto 3-2. Again, pretty straightforward. Technically, 3-2 is faster with Dixie than it is with Cranky. However, the route we usually take makes it so that you would want to keep Cranky for 3-2 going into 3-3 to get that Do-Si-Do trick I was talking about earlier. 3-4 is also pretty straightforward. Uh-oh. I say as Tones sort of like slips up. But he's right back on track now. Funky's pretty good at saving yourself. You don't have to worry too much about it. The double jump also makes it much faster than with Dixie or Diddy. Tones is having a pretty good run, honestly. And I can probably see this run being a low 130s. So he took a barrel there just in case. He had only 3 hearts, and that fire droplet damage section is pretty much you always take a hit there. So it's probably safer for him. I would agree with him going to get that barrel just to make sure he gets to the end of the level. You don't want to die to damage. That's awfully embarrassing. Having 5 hearts. So it's good that he got that. Just, you can tell. So the next auto-scroller is the rocket barrel level, which is a different kind of mechanic of auto-scroller in this game, as opposed to the minecarts. You're actually in a rocket barrel. It acts sort of like Flappy Bird or any of those rockety games where you press the button and you go up, and you let go of the button and you go down. The good thing about this auto-scroller is we only actually do half, because we're taking a secret exit immediately. So you don't have to do the whole thing. You can collect stuff. You can hold the A button, and you just stay on the top of the screen and take a couple hits. So 3-3 coming up for PiePusher. We'll see actually if he takes Rambi or not. Tones did not take Rambi. I believe it's much better not to with Funky because Rambi's slow, especially when he has to land on the ground and rerun again. And it's pretty much unnecessary. It's a waste of time stopping to grab Rambi too. Where Funky makes all the jumps pretty much by himself. So PiePusher might take Rambi because he does not have Funky here. He's not going for the Do-Si-Do because he doesn't have Cranky, which is fine. It's a very hard trick as well. Alright, so PiePusher's got Rambi here. As you can see, even picking up Rambi in that section slowed him down enough where he wasn't able to catch that tornado cycle. The tornado turned on him again, just like the way it did for Tones when he lost a little bit of time. But Ramby's also good for just running through stuff, which is really... so all your blocks and enemies and crates and things you can just run right through. Ramby also, unfortunately, automatically breaks barrels that you run over. So he's now switched to Diddy, I think involuntarily, but at the same time, it's not that big of a deal. Doesn't change too much coming up in the next few levels. 3-4 is equally fast with Diddy and Dixie. The next level that PiePusher has to do here. So 3B changed quite a bit since Cranky. Cranky had a great route where you pogo on all the spikes and get through the level very quickly and consistently. And Funky changed all that up because, yeah, when you land on spikes, you stick to the ground, essentially. So the new route's a bit different. We'll see how Tones handles it. I'm not sure what Tones does here. Oh, he's got a good route. So the route now obviously avoids spikes altogether. Oh, PiePusher, unfortunately, at the very end, wasn't able to make it up there. That's going to push him a bit farther behind, unfortunately. The 2 deaths he's had have been pretty significant. They aren't quick deaths, so that's going to change. That's going to keep Tones pretty much solidified in the lead for the next little while, I'd imagine. So PiePusher's going to wait for the platform to lower a bit, just to make sure he makes that. So the route Tones is using is not necessarily the fastest way to get through. There is a way to go through pretty smoothly, but again, it's tough and it takes a lot of practice. And any slip up, you're stuck into the spikes, and then all the cycles are all messed up and everything's crazy. So Tones just got through it solid. PiePusher making a visit to the shop here. Not 100% sure why. I should have haven't talked to him before the match. But we'll see what he purchases. I can't remember what you can. Let's get banana juice. Okay. He's just picking up some safety items. So it's going to obviously cost him quite a bit of time. He's about half a world behind now, especially after that death. But it's okay. We'll see what happens. Again, I think it's probably getting close to out of range here for PiePusher. Tones is ahead by about half a world, right? Tones also has advantages, though. Like I said earlier, he's on the Switch version, which has faster load times. He's also playing with Funky Kong, which is only available on the Switch version. And Funky is a bit faster than the other Kongs in a lot of levels. Most of them, in fact. So this boss used to have a ton of RNG, and it was very bad. But now it's pretty straightforward, as he always does the same patterns. Sometimes he would go up and down the sides at different heights and throw the wrong things, and not throw bombs, throw spiky bombs, and just made it a whole mess here. Yeah, Tones pretty much able to cleanly finish the second phase there. And going into phase 3, he makes a whole bunch of copies of himself. And we'll see if Tones does the Phil Mickelson and the Kobe throws. He does not, but he does a throw regardless. All I mean by that is you grab the bomb while it's in the air and throw it back. Yeah, it's unfortunate for the Wii U racer here, because Funky literally does everything better than all 3 Kongs, and does everything that they are meant to do as well. So Tones is safely gonna dodge all those other bombs. Although you can take a hit and then damage boost your way through. By damage boosting, I just mean, for anyone unfamiliar, is taking damage and having invincibility frames for a while. And while you're invincible, you can go through enemies, and you won't be slowed down doing anything, so. I'm not too sure exactly what the load difference is. It's something like that. You're looking at something around 5 seconds. 4 to 5 seconds. Maybe not even that much. Maybe only 2 to 3 seconds or so. But I mean, there are 42 levels in the game, I believe. in any percent that we do. So that adds up a ton. That's obviously quite a while. 2 loads per level, so it's minutes at that point. So Tones here going to World 4. You'll see Tones is doing Funky only, so there is a slight disadvantage coming up in World 4 where PiePusher could probably take a bit of time back, even with the load time difference. He could still be about 15 seconds faster, just because he's using Diddy alone. Now, if there were no load time difference, it's about 45 seconds faster. And the main reason is because the way Tones is swimming here, he's doing the corkscrew swim. And that's fairly fast, but Diddy's jetpack is much faster underwater. It's also a little bit easier to control, easier to turn. So optimally, you'd be going for switching to DK at some point, either in the beginning of 4.1 or the end of World 3, to be using Diddy for as much of World 4 as possible. And you'd be doing pretty much the old route from the Wii U version. Nice dodging between enemies there for Tone. Taking a hit loses a half second, so that's good for him. Also, it's really nice that Funky can swim through those strong currents, which historically only Dixie was really intended to be able to swim through them. Diddy can go through them if you properly time your boosts. He can very slowly go through them. So we take a secret exit here because the main route in World 4, going through 4.2, 4.3, and 4.4, incredibly slow. So instead of going 4.2, 4.3, 4.4, we go 4A, 4B, and that's it. So you're skipping a level, and they're 2 faster levels in general. So you're saving quite a bit of time by doing the secret exit route that we do. So PiePusher's doing the cranky, which you'll see should be a little bit faster than Tones did. He can pogo on all these spikes and... Yeah, PiePusher's also, you'll notice, getting a few more. That's mainly because you have less hearts on the Wii U version, unfortunately. So in his original mode, you only have 2 hearts on each Kong, and losing a Kong is bad in this game. Losing your partner there. So I actually I really haven't seen any Funky only going through World 4 here. I mostly just I never do it. I always do DK and Friends there. So I haven't actually watched much of it. But I do know that Funky's still pretty optimal in a lot of places. This level, for example, is really only a fraction percentage faster with Diddy because there's 2 short underwater sections. Besides that, there's no other time loss at all using Funky here. That was smooth going through there for Tones. Also looks really cool. So PiePusher, unfortunately, is going to have to deal with some RNG here with this boss, where Tones didn't have to worry about it. Tones using a setup. The setup is actually pretty different. So there was a setup with Cranky where you just had to pogo. It was perfectly set up to go. I'm not sure if the setup exists in the same way for Funky, but it's probably very, very similar. For Funky only there. So Tones is on to a fun level called 4B. I wonder if PiePusher's actually going to do it. I don't think so, but that would be awesome if he did. There was a glitch in the Wii U version that we used to utilize where we'd skip this whole level by basically adding a second player, throwing Diddy out of bounds, falling through the water, and then Diddy could swim underneath the entire level. You skip all this like key searching and chests and backtracking and all this stuff. And it's fantastic. It saved like a minute or something. But they patched it out, unfortunately, in the Switch. I think they patched a collision. So the way we do this level now, the as intended way, is you swim through and get these keys for different chests. So you'll see Tones going for the green chest now, which will give him the blue key. Then he'll go to the blue chest. It's all this backtracking and navigating this little maze, sort of like Zelda fashion. It's not really a bad level. It's just very long. And most runners don't find it as enjoyable, unfortunately. So PiePusher with a good 3-boss. Wasn't super paying attention, but I think he did the RNG. He got the RNG pretty alright. And Tones here just finishing up now. It's 4B. Just gotta put the gold key in the gold chest, and get the boss key, as they say. It looks kind of like a boss key to me. Luckily, the boss door is right next to the boss key. Good. The shark's coming! The shark's coming! Nah, we good. It stops right for him. Every time. So PiePusher moving on to World 4. We're gonna now watch the way PiePusher goes through this with Diddy, and you'll see just kind of the extra navigational ability and speed he gets from Diddy is pretty incredible. There's also a lot of Kong switching in this world. The DK and Friends route. Tones here is just doing Funky, and 4-5 is pretty good with Funky. So PiePusher using Diddy's speed here, instead of having to spin and corkscrew through. See how Tones tackles 4-5 here. Again, I don't know the route super well with Funky, so it'll be interesting to see how this goes. With Crank, you could pogo a lot, so... Here you've got to wait anyway. Hopefully Tones doesn't mess this up too bad. Okay, he's getting through. There was a trick here. I don't know if it's intact with Funky anymore, or if it's in a different form. Doesn't look like he'll be able to get the same sort of speed here. But with those the quad knob and the I forgot what the other thing was called. The two banger. You can actually shoot yourself and skip a lot of those. A lot of having to do that rotational barrel stuff. And you can shoot yourself right into the top barrel where you move on. Oh! Tones bonks into the ceiling right before the end barrel. You don't actually have to smash those crates there. You can do a little crate skip by jumping under and then doing a double jump / hover, depending on what Kong you're using, up to the end barrel. It saves a bit of time. Well, that puts Tones a little bit back in World 4 here. Probably not quite enough for PiePusher to catch up, but that definitely helps. That definitely sets him back a little bit. It's a fairly significant death as well. It's actually much worse to die there with the original Kongs, because you lose your partner Kong. Again, another nice buffer that you get with Funky there. So Tones going into 4-6, a lot of water, so a little bit slower. I feel like you can actually see a little catching up for PiePusher here. So this level that PiePusher's on, this is he's going to try and I think Kongs. So you start with Dixie, then you go into Diddy, and Diddy is useful because of the first water section here. The other Kongs don't lose any time. And then he'll be switching right to Cranky, and Cranky will be able to get the secret exit fairly fast here. You'll see it's probably even faster than Tones did it. So we switch to Cranky. Cranky also pogo through stuff and on top of enemies, which is great. There's one more little water section. Doesn't lose that much time to have Cranky here. It's much more beneficial to have him for the ending. So I think doing the secret exit with Diddy is virtually impossible. It's not impossible, it's just very, very hard. Never worth really doing in a run, I don't think. So here goes PiePusher. He's going for it, yep. So these things set themselves up perfectly. That was much smoother than Tones did it with Funky, which is great, so that saves a little bit of time as well. There are little time saves here that PiePusher's still got coming. So I'd say it's not quite over yet. Although we are moving soon into World 5, which we'll see. We'll see what happens with the runners there. Everything's pretty straightforward in 4-6 here with Funky. Not much interesting going on. Just kind of go through the water. Take some damage boosts, like off of these specific electric tentacle things. This allows you to swim non-stop through the rest of them, instead of having to navigate them, which is nice. PiePusher's not going for the bounds here, unfortunately. That would be cool. He's going for the Diddy. Diddy's even faster too in 4-6 than Funky, so it's okay. Since the entire level's water, you just want to get Diddy as fast as possible. Tones here, about to finish up World 4. He's moving on to Fugu. Fugu, for those who don't know, you don't have to do this boss as intended at all. As soon as he exposes his soft under behind, you can deliver a hit on him. And the way we do that normally is you kind of hide behind, you sneak behind. So instead of waiting for him to go through all these cycles, and it takes many minutes and it's very slow and annoying, we can make the hits pretty quick. So let's see how Tones does here. I have actually died to Fugu, even with Funky, so you get right behind him. Oh, Tones have a little trouble making the first hit. So you kind of want to let Fugu spin around, damage boost yourself back into the corner, and then make the hits on him. So it was a bit of a slow first hit, but not too bad. This is actually a boss that's a little bit faster with Cranky as well. Underwater, Cranky swings his cane, and he's got a lot of extra reach. So you can kind of tuck under him, and Fugu won't spin away that fast if you do the hits correctly. As you can see, this strategy is really easy with Funky. Originally, this was a strategy that was used with just solo DK if you'd lost Cranky. Sometimes he doesn't give you enough hearts to keep Cranky, since you have to take so much damage. But pretty smooth for Tones. A safe strat. I don't even know if Funky can actually do that much faster any other way, so good stuff. Tones moving on to World 5. With a pretty healthy lead here, looks like. PiePusher's 2 levels and a boss behind. 2.5 levels about. No, about 2 levels, so. I mean, again, we will see what happens, but it's looking pretty good for Tones here. He's also got the easier Kong. So, I mean, if PiePusher makes no mistakes, it's still going to be a pretty good race, I have to say. And without the 2 deaths that PiePusher had, it would be much closer. He'd probably be less than a level, less than 2 levels for sure. Maybe a level behind. So, again, the Wii U disadvantage is pretty significant sometimes. You'll notice their Tones had a long load going into. It's because the way they kind of changed it was the first level they load, I think, a lot of the assets for the entire world. So after you've done the first level load, you're pretty much good to go. You load everything else. So Tones going a bit safe here. Still smooth, nothing too crazy. PiePusher going for the Dixie. Oh, Tones is death there. I think he was pretty close to a checkpoint though, so it's not too bad. But yeah, World 5 and 6 significantly up in this game, so it's very easy to fumble. I don't remember where Tones died here. Oh, he's going though. Okay, slowly but surely getting on the platform. Yeah, I think Tones is a little bit nervous at this point about his death, so he doesn't want to ruin it too much. So he's taking his sweet time here, which I don't blame him for. Ooh, bonks on another thing there. Bonks on one of those platforms. Again, 5-1 does ramp up the challenge. Okay, looks like he's got a good hold on it now. Let's see if he's able to carry this. He's still being safe, though, which is good. All these little platforms give him some trouble here. So he lost a bit of time there. PiePusher actually did gain a bit of time, looks like in World 4. So that's great. He did gain some seconds. Probably something close to 20-30 seconds, I'd say. As long as his 4-6 goes well. Which it should. It's much faster, did he? So there's some time loss you get on having to switch between Kongs. So Tones is not losing a ton of time in that respect, because he doesn't have to switch Kongs and go to the menu and stuff, which doesn't take that long, but does add up. So Tones on the second last auto scroller now. 2 more rocket barrels left. So I always like the look of 5-2 here. It's pretty cool with the different camera angles. It's always fun to watch. So PiePusher, let's go back to the left side of the screen here. He's taking his time through this section. Again, you only have 2 Diddy hearts, and you always want Diddy in this level. So he's playing a little bit safe. It's not to get killed. The soundtrack is also great in this level, I totally agree. Yeah, there's no way to speed this up for PiePusher here, you just have to wait for those little spinning gears to appear. Here's a good chance for a refill, but he's already at full, so he's not going to get it. And he's just going to weave his way through and take the 1 damage boost, which is very good. That was good through that section. Once in a while, you'll accidentally get poked by another tentacle, and then you lose Diddy, so it's good that he got there. Keeping him for the end part is good. And then PiePusher's going to head up to Fugu as well, and hopefully switch to Cranky. It doesn't look like he's keeping Diddy now, so you might as well get point. Tones almost on 5-2. So Tones has got a good significant lead at this point. He's a fair amount of levels ahead. 2 and a boss. So. Although PiePusher caught up a little bit of time in World 4, it's not going to be nearly enough to really pull him back into this race, unfortunately. Some other stuff is going to have to happen. And it's possible stuff happens, so we've got lots of game left, including the final boss, which is notorious for missing hits and losing lots of time on cycles there. So really the race will probably go down to the very end, if the players keep up this consistency, which is good. So PiePusher equipping his health items just to make sure he does not die to Fugu. And he should be fine. He's got the juice, the banana juice gives him invincibility for, I don't know how long, quite a while. 15 seconds or 20 seconds or something. And the extra heart boost to make sure he's able to keep Cranky as long as possible here. Okay, so he's going on to phase 3 with the extra heart. Tones navigating his way through 5-3. Fairly consistent there. And PiePusher looks like he's good as long as he makes this last hit. There he goes. Excellent. Good boss for PiePusher there with his items. Tones having some trouble. That was, I think, an unintentional pogo, or bounce off that fruit there, but that's fine. This section's possible to get through without taking a hit, but you have to go through it as fast as possible. Didn't get eaten by the plant, that's good. Okay, Tones finishing up 5-3, and PiePusher moving into 5-1, Cranky. So hopefully he has a better 5-1 than Tones, and we'll have caught up a little bit of time. Tones lost about 30, let's say, on those 2 deaths. So we'll see how PiePusher handles this. So far, pretty smooth. He's got a good start. He's switching to Dixie, which is also very fast in this level. The strats are just very different. For quite a while, there was actually a war kind of going on the Wii U version between the Dixie and Cranky strats, and it was pretty exciting. So he's gonna refill his Dixie heart there with the barrel while waiting on the barrel cycle. Okay, getting through pretty well. With Dixie, he can also skip the platform, just like Funky could. So far, don't want to jinx it, but PiePusher's having a good 5-1, definitely compared to Tones, so that's some time to catch up there. Yeah, going a little bit safe with the flutters, just to make sure he makes it also reasonable. Excellent 5-1 there by PiePusher. Fantastic. So he saved something like 30-40 seconds on Tones there. So good. A little bit more catch up here. That's what I like to see. See the race get a little bit closer. So Tones back over here with Funky. Funky can do quite a bit this level, which is really nice. He gets a lot of extra height and stuff just with his double jump. And he can pop on a lot of enemies here. We're taking the secret exit. Unfortunately, the secret exit right at the end, so you don't get to skip any of the level really. This underwater section is actually much more difficult to navigate, I think, without Funky. With Diddy, the jetpack is so much easier. But the other thing is, so Tones is trying to dodge these fruit here, but you can really just damage boost through. You have so many hearts. So good on him for trying to, but you don't have to dodge them, I would say. This climate it's definitely a little weird with Funky. I find personally a lot of vertical section pretty different with Funky than they are with Cranky and the others. But Tones did fine. No issues there really. Which is good. So the secret exit takes us to our next global cycle level, which is one of my favorites to play. And we do this because the other level, which is 5-5 Jelly Jamboree, is very slow and very bad. All sorts of no fun. So we opt to do 5B instead. So we'll see Tones trying to make... There's a couple cycles you can wait on in order to get the optimal cycle. This is not one of them. Tones has so far missed the optimal cycle, but that's okay. He's still going. He's going to take some damage. Yeah, everything in this level is based on when you get there. So all the platforms that appear and all the enemies positioning, these spike moving parts and stuff. And this drop here coming down, whether the spikes are on the left and stuff and poke you, is all based on when you get there. So he was a bit off, so if you get there optimally, you're able to actually fall right through it. Tone's still good. He's recovering very well on this level, which is good. He has 1 heart left though, which is important to note. He did take a lot of hits, so he's susceptible to die to this owl up here. He didn't, which is great. Good job. Very nice that he didn't take the last hit. Awfully embarrassing to die to damage in this game. Okay, so Tones is on 5-6 now. Almost finished World 5. 5-6 has a lot of momentum. So keep an eye on Tones' screen here on the right. And we'll see kind of the ways you can utilize momentum here. Good start there with Tones. He's doing strats I need to do. This is great. He's doing this very well so far. Nice and smooth. So here, this thing pushes you, gives you momentum, so you get a nice fast jump there. And that happens way more often than it usually does. There's a little platform there. It's actually a bit faster to get up to the next section, but it's a small little platform. So there's another little death by Tones. Alright, he made it there this time with a double jump, which is good. That one's not too bad. That didn't cost him very much time at all. Here's some more momentum Tones is going to try and utilize. Coming off the flower. Taking a hit means you still get to keep your speed. And he sat there waiting for the plant to push him. And it kind of did. Really strange. PiePusher having trouble here with 5-3. So he's going to have to go very safe here. Not to get hit by these spikes. One hit and he's gone. He's going for it. Alright, he navigated that really good. Which is very good. He's going to get this Dixie barrel. PiePusher almost lost it there with the 1 heart, but he did alright. He did alright at recovering, which is good. Tones with a pretty smooth 5-6. Going into the boss here, which again used to be quite a bit of RNG, but not anymore. So the boss is pretty straightforward here for Tones. 3 phases, 3 hits per phase. He does a bunch of stuff, and you want to bop him on his head. PiePusher having a scary but still solid 5-3. Now, for PiePusher going into 5-4, the only way to get that secret exit is to keep a Dixie or a D. If you lose them in your solo DK, you cannot do the secret exit, and you have to play Jelly Jamboree, which is forbidden. So as a safety, PiePusher is equipping an extra heart, just to make sure he doesn't lose that Kong, which I totally respect. Because you don't want to at this point. He knows he's at a disadvantage, and I think he realizes that really the only way to cheer is to have a consistent run, a solid, straightforward run, and hope Tones drops the ball. I mean, it's really the only. I think that's really what PiePusher's hoping for, and it's probably reasonable at this point, considering he's on the Wii U version. He's going for Diddy, which is faster, so that's good. The Diddy extra hard here. Diddy's useful here because there are a few underwater sections, namely that large long section with the giant spiked fruit. That saves a bit of time with Diddy. So that's really the only difference with Diddy and Dixie here. Diddy is able to get through the strong jet current underwater. Like I said earlier, with the jetpack, it's just a little slower and a bit more difficult to time. Ooh, PiePusher falling down. Hopefully does not lose Diddy. That extra heart's really helpful there, though. Gotta say. So we just want to make sure that he gets to the secret exit without losing Diddy. As you can see, you can navigate a lot easier on Diddy, and he just is faster, especially in this section instead of the corkscrew. So that was a great section for PiePusher there, great underwater section. Just a little bit more, and he's able to get the secret exit. With Tones, there's really nothing interesting happening right now. Oh. He's just making hits. Alright. Good 5-4 for PiePusher. So the way you do it here, as you see it, you do a small boost, which gets you a little bit ahead, and if you do a spin immediately after, you fall behind. The current won't push you back any farther, so that was really good from PiePusher to get there. Okay, so Tones moving on to World 6, the tough world. So the difficulty ramps up even more here. Homecoming Hijinks is the first level here, and every level in World 6 is actually based on a world from DKC Returns, which is the Wii game that came out before this as the first Retro Studios remake of the DKC trilogy or the DKC games. So Tones having some trouble at the beginning, but manages to get up there. And he's not going for the quick shot, which is fair. You can actually shoot that barrel a little bit faster earlier. This level also used to be extremely dangerous without Funky, because if you die and lose your part, it's so slow. PiePusher actually, on the left, if you take a look, is doing really well with the cycles, but kind of didn't trust himself. So he's setting himself up again to get the proper cycles, which again, I totally agree with. Back on the right on Tone's screen, you can see he's going to do a nice roll off the side here. You can actually skip that entire section by just rolling and jumping off. You'll always make it with any Kong, which is great. So, nice, easy little trick there. Skip a good section of that level. PiePusher with a really good 5B. No real issues. Made a lot of cycles. More cycles than Tones did, so that's good. Tones moved on to 6-2. Another good audio track. David Wise comes back to do the music for this in 2014, which is great. So let's see, there's a couple little skips in this that Tones is going to want to get to maximize his funky advantage here. Funky's great because he doesn't have to catch any of those vines. He doesn't have to wait for really any other random cycles here. Tones is having a very good 6-2 by them. This is really smooth. Better than I do it, that's for sure. Okay, you wait there intentionally. He waited a bit too long, but if you wait there, you don't have to. You don't have to get hit by one of those blue owls. So Tone's going a bit slow here, and by damage boosting off the water there, it shoots you right up. And that depends on the position of the last platform, the big boat section there, which moves, kind of creeps up on you. So that was a really good Tones. No issues at all. A little bit near the end. You can technically do that boat section pretty fast. PiePusher having trouble getting through the end of 5-6 here. But he manages to do it, loses his speed, but still able to save it. Ooh, almost fell, but that's okay. Still pretty good 5-6 here for PiePusher, so both players are playing really well in general. Not many mistakes at all from either side. Which is just great to see in a tournament match. Just to put some work into it, which is great. So 6-3 is fairly straightforward. Yeah, what's nice though about this game is you don't have to use the waggle controls that were given to you in returns. In DKC returns on the Wii, you have to use the waggle. So, I mean, I did run it a little bit, but I lost interest as well for the same reason. So it's really nice that they give you the option not to use the waggle if you just use a pro controller, the double nunchucks. So PiePusher on the boss now. Pretty straightforward again, he just has to make the hits. And there's a little skip there that Tones actually didn't use. But you can skip kind of another couple platforms, it saves a few seconds. So that's fine, still a really clean level for Tones. He's got a good run going on here. I imagine he's on pace for something like a low 130. Or low 130s, rather. So 6-4 is the last auto-scroller. It's a fairly long one too, but it is what it is. Can be tricky. Can be. Hopefully nobody screws that one up too bad. Again, you can't really... Unlike the Rocket Barrel levels, you can actually speed up a little bit or not lose any time. By jumping up and down platforms, like I said earlier, but with the rocket barrels you can't do anything. You're just stuck at the same speed the whole time. So basically there's nothing to do but look as cool as you can. Tones is showing off a little bit, trying to get the puzzle piece and stuff. Hopefully it doesn't actually backfire on him. Yeah, not much else to say here. On PiePusher's side, he's using Cranky. It's worth noting that it doesn't matter what Kong you use at all. There's no time difference. Just kind of changes a little bit of how you play it. It is a bit tougher with solo DK. That's pretty much it. But in terms of time, it can be beaten. This boss can be beaten just as fast with any Kong, so it doesn't matter too much. It's more about comfort level. And PiePusher doing just fine in the boss, making the hits as fast as possible, which is good. Yeah, there is some new RNG or some old RNG that he has to deal with, but not too much. It won't cost him more than 15 seconds. He does it correctly anyway. 10, 15 seconds. Yeah, even 15 is a lot. It's 10. The RNG only involves what kinds of bomb or what drops in the blocks that he drops. Sometimes the bomb will appear in the third or the fourth block, and that can affect when you make the hits on him because you hit him with the bomb a couple times. Tones didn't have any trouble, it looks like, so far in 6-4. So PiePusher got the bomb early, didn't make the hit. He's gonna have to wait another little cycle there to hit Bashmaster. That's unfortunate. He hit the ice blocks. It's gonna cost him some time. Again, I would say this is a guarantee Tones, but they still have the final boss. And you really never know. It is going to be very tough for PiePusher to win the match at this point. Only because Tones is now over halfway through World 6. So PiePusher's actually going to have to enter World 6 soon, if he wants that chance. And not miss any more Bashmaster cycles here. Okay, he did get the bomb, which is good. So Force Volley is really cool. 6-5 here that Tones is on the right side. There's a lot of momentum in this level. So we're gonna see how much Tones actually goes for. All those platforms that spring you up give you extra speed that you can utilize. There's a bit. bop on a couple snowflakes. Oh, well, Tones had lots of speed, but then he just died. I think he bopped on some unintentional snowflakes there, or enemies. So he doesn't have his speed back. And, ooh, wow, barely made that platform. I don't know if he had any business making that platform, but he sure did. Let's see if he gets some speed off here. Okay. Well, he's getting through the first section. There's another boost coming up. Right after the fire owl, you'll see. So on that springing platform, see if we can get the boost here. No, he ducked out early. That's fair, because it's pretty tough. But you can bop on this little owl there, and that big enemy in the back, and get right into the barrel without any of those platforms. So going a bit slow, but that's okay. It's very safe. Especially since he just died once trying a boost, so. There's one more boost here, but it looks like he's not going. He's just going to go through. Which is also pretty safe. Okay. At this point, you just don't want to die here. Oh, PiePusher. With a death on 6-1, and that's a tough death. Because he does not have his cranky anymore. So he's going to have to go through solo DK much slower now the rest of this level. Including a 6-2, the beginning a bit slower, so... That's tough. That'll probably be the end for PiePusher there. I don't know if he can catch up at this point. He's also going for the safer end strat here. It is a bit difficult with DK. He does not make it. Safer, but still tough. Intentional strat. Yeah, 6-1 used to be the big run killer before the Switch version. So, I mean, it happens. It's tough. We've all been there. So that's unfortunate for PiePusher there. Still gonna go for the intentional strat. A little bit slower even to make sure he doesn't actually die this. Tones was 6-6. Pretty straightforward again, but there are a couple actually spots where now with the new grab jump technique discovered just a couple weeks ago, you're able to skip platforms a little bit faster even than any Kong can. A little bit of extra height that grabbing right before your double jump gives you goes a long way sometimes. Whoa, Tones almost losing it here on this section. Okay, pulled it together, barely. A little nerve-wracking, but he got there. Overall, not too bad. A little sloppy, but not a bad 6-6 here. I gotta teach Tones some stuff about this game. And the end here, you normally have to wait for this entire wheel to spin around, but the barrel that shoots you up is actually already right there, and you just have to wait for it to get into position, shoot you to the end, and that's it. PiePusher on the left having a really good Dixie 6-2. Going very smooth for Dixie. Dixie's a safer choice. In general, Dixie's the safer choice, so. And he's not going to go for the fast skip, but it's a lot easier too with Dixie. Problem is you can't take that damage boost quite as easily because you don't really have an extra heart to do it. You'll lose Dixie right away if you try. So, not a bad 6-2 for PiePusher, as long as everything works out here. Tones on to 6-7. So the reason they're not playing is because PiePusher's on the Wii, and Tones is on the Switch version. On Switch you get access to Funky mode, which ends up being a bit faster. And most levels just use Funky. So unfortunately PiePusher's at the disadvantage with having the Wii U version. But he still had a pretty good run so far. So optimally here, you would be using Funky for everything except World 4 in the 80% run here. So. Tones having a good, full of damage boosts 6-7, which is fine, because you can still skip a bunch of other stuff, and it makes some sections much easier just to damage boost through. And again, for those who don't know, damage boosting is taking a hit intentionally to give yourself invincibility for a certain amount of time. So by doing that, you can get through a bunch more obstacles. Okay, Tones on the 1 heart. Okay. You have to be very careful. At that end section, especially on 1 heart. That was a little bit sketchy, but he made it, which was good. So in World 4, normally you'd go back to using DK and mostly use Diddy, because Diddy's faster underwater. Ended up saving about 45 seconds to using Funky only in World 4 in total, so that is the optimal 90% so far that we've figured out. PiePusher finishing up 6-3 here, going to his last up. Tones on the last regular level of the game, 6-8. It's a Ramby level, and unfortunately you have to use Ramby. There are significant portions in this level where you can't progress unless you have a Ramby to smash through a specific block. This level also forces you to wait on a bunch of parts. Yes, Diddy is relevant in this run. In the 90%, which is nice. Still not good in any other way, but he is very good underwater, so that's where he's used. Tone's doing pretty well here, not getting too ahead of himself, which is good. Yep, it's the good music again. Everyone's favorite music. He's definitely the worst character in casual play. Tones is doing very well here on 6-8. Very smooth. Not getting ahead of himself at any point. But also just doing a solid route. Nothing too crazy, nothing too risky. This should give him a pretty good final time here. Might be a race PB even. I'm not sure what a race PB. This barrel you don't want to blast out of too early. You just hit the wall and die. Alright, Tones finishing up 6-8. He's going to be moving into 6 boss soon. And, I mean, what really Tones is hoping for boss coming up is making the 9-for-9 hits. There are some other little tricks to save time. You can throw enemies early and all sorts of weird stuff, but it's much riskier, and I think Tones is just going to try and stick to just making the 9-for-9 hits. I would say this is a fairly challenging run, but not with Funky mode. It's much easier with Funky mode. The game itself was fairly challenging already. So Tone's in the final boss, so there's, again, 3 phases. And the hits involve pretty precise jumps on a relatively small hitbox as he runs across the screen a few times. And if you miss a hit, he doesn't run again for it. You just have to suck it up and wait another cycle. So the way you can speed this up a little bit is by early throwing these enemies, which he tried for. So he tried to chuck an enemy early, or you can wait until he stands still and throw it. So see, the first 3 runs are pretty slow across the screen. There's 1 for Tones. 2. Nice. That's 3. That's good. 3 for 3 so far. Gotta get my timer stop going here. PiePusher moving on to the second half of World 6. He's not really has not ended up that far behind, all things considered. He could even PB off his SRL time leaderboard, which is a 143. Oh, Tones giving the sad face. Missed hit, I'm assuming, and second phase missed hits first, because the cycle actually lasts the longest phases. Missing hit number 1, getting hit in hit number 2, and missing. Oh, he made hit number. He's got 2 hits left in this cycle. That's a. Oh man, and he almost drowned in the lava. Drowning in the lava kills you much quicker than water because you just burn to death. So. So he's missed 2 hits there. He's got to go through a whole other cycle, which costs quite a bit of time. That's gonna get him out of PB range. Unfortunately, it looks like. It's still not quite enough for PiePusher to catch up. PiePusher's got to go. But if PiePusher plays it safe, he'll still have a good time, I think. Right, Tones going, just about to make another attempt at second phase hits here. He does run a bit faster. So it's hit 2 out of 3 here. Alright, so he's got his 6 hit stud. He's got 3 more hits left. And the time technically ends not on the last hit, but on the final animation punch there, when he kind of knocked him out of the park. So he's going to ice the platform again and drop enemies. PiePusher does pretty well actually on 6-5 there. No real mistakes, a little bit of safety, but Tones not going for the early hit here. Not like he did for the other 2. Hit him on the toe, which is just enough. Alright, here we go. Let's see the 3 for 3 here. 7, good. Hit 8, nice, that was a bit tight. Oh, and he missed the last hit! He has to wait another phase. Luckily, phase 3 is not as bad. He doesn't go back to the background, but that does cost him some more time. It's gonna push him closer to that, like, 134 finish time here. It's such a fun boss fight. Luckily, he runs again right after this, and there are no ice physics. 1 more hit. Missing that. Oh my goodness, Tones! There we go. There we go. So Tones finishes a 133.17, possibly faster on his own time there, so. Alright, congrats to Tones, who moves on in the bracket. Let's see where we are in this bracket here. So, Tones is moving on, and he is going to face either Ghoul02 or RDW versus the World. So, they are doing their match. I'm not sure when they're doing their match. But Tones is moving on to the next round. And unfortunately, that's it for PiePusher. Still a pretty solid run for a Wii U run, unfortunately. He's still doing pretty well, so. So yeah. Yeah, the boss is something, that's for sure. Let's see if Tones will pop into this chat at some point, post-game with him. And PiePusher's only got two levels left, really, and then the boss, so he's done pretty well. Yeah, the boss is tough. You really have to just practice setups that you find comfortable, I think, at a certain point, so. So yeah, PiePusher's doing the rest with the OG Kongs here, so that's cool. You see the old strats here with Dixie. Yeah, but see, I think PiePusher is probably still on pace to beat his SRL PB. Maybe not by much, but if he has a smooth rest of his levels, he should be fine, so. There is 100%, which does every level in the game. You collect all the Kong letters in the year, and you unlock K level and World 7. So that is a category. It's not run very often, but it's something. Oh, PiePusher not quite able to get up there. That's gonna mean he's doing the rest solo DK, unfortunately, in 6-7, which is much harder. But he'll just take his time and he'll be fine. That's a bonus, which is alright. He's very close to finishing though, which is good. So. $133.17 is really a completely respectable time there for Tones. Nothing bad about that time, especially at his skill level, so that's pretty good. Again, GG to Tones. Did well, besides the final boss. Yes, 100% does World 7 as well. PiePusher have to be very careful here. Not to get shocked by anything. This is such a dangerous level when you have much less wiggle room with your hearts. He's doing it though, which is good. Okay. Nicely done. PiePusher sneaking through with the 1 heart DK, hard style. Able to get through that level, which is good. So he's only got 6-8 and the boss now. So let's see if he does the boss better than Tones did. Which would be cool. Yeah, so the way the bracket's set up here, we've got Tones moving on, and if he wins that, then he's going to have to face either whoever loses between Michael Goldfish and Cruncha, who are two of the two really high level runners. I'd say, let's see, out of everyone, I think they're the highest. They're the top runners in this tournament. Michael Goldfish, Cruncha, yeah. Spike Vegeta and Jock are also up there. Yeah, so it looks like the Michael Goldfish Cruncha match in the winners bracket is going to be pretty tough competition here for Tones if he wins the next round. So we will see how that goes. And we still have to wait for the Ghoul PW match, which I believe is coming up at some, let me see if I can pull that one up as well. So we've got the next match is coming up for DKC Tropical Freeze. I am playing Saturday at 10 a.m. against Reichelt, and then right after at 2 p.m. on the same day is Jock Spike Vegeta. That's a winners bracket match, and that should be a good one. Both of those players are very high level, and they're very similar skill level. So that is definitely a match to watch out for. Saturday 2 p.m. So that's going to be a good one. That's the next, I'd say, highlight match to watch. Jockames versus Spike Vegeta. 2 p.m. Saturday. This Saturday coming up. So. And if you're up early, you can watch at 10 a.m. same day. PiePusher with a really good 6-8 here, actually. I'm just very excited to see how he does the final boss here. All right, PiePusher with a smooth 6-8. Nothing to worry about there. I think he's going into the final boss here with Cranky, which I find personally is a little easier to make the hits. I'm not sure if I'm just used to it more, or if it actually does change the hitbox. That was a theory for a while. That Cranky's cane coming down actually increases Frederick's hitbox, Frederick's final boss. So. Not sure if that was ever confirmed, but that was definitely a theory for a while. So we're going into the final boss. I'm going to pull up the commentator tools here to be able to done PiePusher here, stop his timer. So he actually brought a spare Cranky barrel. The theory was that the Cranky's Pogo actually increases the boss's hitbox. But it's not really confirmed, so I don't think anyone really knows. I feel like it genuinely is just feeling, because it does act a little bit differently. So we're going to hope PiePusher here makes these hits. Yes, the Pogo, sorry, the cane. Yeah, PiePusher's having no trouble at all making the... And if he's able to make the next cycles, it'll be a much quicker boss fight than Tones had, so that'll be something. So, of course, the ice boss has to ice the floor for ice physics, making it that much harder to make hits. Yeah, we'll see. The Pogo does not make you descend any more quickly. It's ungrounded, mostly, that theory. But it is something the community has talked about for a long time, so... It doesn't matter now, we just have to use... because it's slower to switch to Cranky. Okay, going for cycle 2. The first 2 pass-bys are a little bit slow, and then the third one is much faster. That's the tricky one to hit, is this hit. And PiePusher doing well. He's 6 for 6 so far, without a miss, so... Already having a better Frederick than Tone. He did also give him the best RNG. Note there is RNG. So far, this is a faster Frederick. Going really well for PiePusher here. It's not going to be a PB for him, unfortunately. He's past his PB already, but the boss fight's going very well for him. So this is how you're supposed to do it. So he is not, however, going for the early, which Tones did go for. So that would save you a little bit of time here. He's just going for the regular hits where he waits for Frederick to stop moving. Because at that point, it's much easier to throw the little bunny at him. Okay, let's see if he makes the last 3. Hit 7. Hit 8. Yep. Beautiful. Good job, PiePusher. Beautiful, beautiful, Frederick. That is great. That's fantastic. The sound went off, but 9 for 9 is really good. Good job on making that. That's how you do it. Tones. Learn. Watch and learn. That's great. 9 for 9 is great. It's awesome to make those hits, so good job, PiePusher. That was good. Good ending. I'm really glad he stuck it out and did 9 for 9. 9 out of 9 and 9 for 9. Yeah, that was a pretty good race, honestly. It's too bad that PiePusher was on Wii U, because it would have been much closer if not. Like, I think right there, PiePusher saved, I don't know, a minute and some odd, a minute and a half on the final boss. That's very cool. Very good runs on both players there. So yeah, I think that's it. I'm not sure what's coming up next here. I'm sure I could figure it out, but there's always something going on in Speed Gaming. Thanks again, Speed Gaming, for hosting this tournament. I don't know if the racers really care to do any post commentary here. None of them are here, so I guess not. But yeah, good runs on both players. So yeah, the next Tropical Freeze, again, next Tropical Freeze race is Saturday at 10 a.m. Myself versus Reichelt, and then there's another race right after, which I think is a great race, at 2 p.m. on Saturday with Spike Vegeta versus Giacomes. So yeah, little Tropical Freeze on Saturday coming up again. And the rest of that is going to be is all Switch version, so it'll be hopefully a bit closer, at least on load times alone. So yeah, I think that's about it. We're done here, so thanks to both the runners. Congrats to Tones for moving on, and we'll head out and catch up with these guys on Saturday. So yeah, make sure to come back Saturday for Tropical Freeze. Thanks, everybody.